everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Jasmine Star Show. My name is Rachel, Content and Community Coordinator for Social Curator. And today we have a very special guest, Erica Courdae. Erica is a 20-year veteran of the beauty industry, salon owner, and DEI coach and consultant. Yes, I just said she's in the beauty industry and a diversity coach. This queen wears a lot of crowns. But as a DEI coach, Erica is dedicated to creating a non-judgmental space where you can explore how your actions, attitudes, and environment support your values and lead to a more inclusive community and world. And that's what she and Jasmine are discussing today. In this interview, Erica and Jasmine discuss how we can be better allies for the Black community, how we all can be more inclusive leaders, and the power we have as business owners to lead the revolution in a way that larger, top-heavy corporations don't. I absolutely love this conversation, and I'm sure you will too. So let's go ahead and listen in.
I could not be more honored to have the amazing guest today. Her name is Erica. Now, I have to tell you, she was introduced to myself by way of a friend. My friend, I'll just say it's Amy Porterfield, my friend Amy. She was like, Jasmine, you really got to chat with Erica. And I said, okay, well, spill the tea. And she's like, no, I really think that you should pop on a call with her. So Erica and I had a call and a conversation, and probably within the first, 6 minutes, I was like, this is not a call for me. This is a call for the podcast. So I was like, Erica, don't say anything good, even though the 6 minutes you'd already spilled so much goodness. And I was like, we have to save this for a conversation because it would be doing the audience a disservice. I would be doing a disservice. And more than anything, I would be selfish keeping this amazing conversation to myself. So without further ado, Erica Courdae, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jasmine. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too, because we're having conversations around being allies. We're having conversations on learning how to do better. And we're having conversations about the power and impact that a small business owner can have, even if sometimes we feel like, what do we do? How do we make a change? How do we show up? So if you would allow me, can I read something that you wrote on Instagram recently?
Sure.
Okay. Diversity is not a buzzword, but a call to see people as beacons for what makes them different, while remembering that we all crave the same basic principles: inclusion, success, community, love, acknowledgement, and safety. If everyone looks like you, but you speak about your business and life and message as if it were inclusive, then there is some work to be done. Ooh, if everybody looks like you, but you talk about diversity, then things need to be done. That is a powerful statement. I believe that there's a lot of business owners. I know this, like they want to be more inclusive in their life and business, but they don't know how. So can you start this episode off with a bang? I mean, we hit the ground running. I was like, save your good stuff. And I'm like, here we go. So how as leaders are we more inclusive in our work? Like what tangible tips can we share so people end this podcast be like, this is one thing that I could start doing today?
Right. First of all, I appreciate that you chose that caption from Instagram because I feel like it's a very pertinent place to start because, one of the things that isn't said in that I'm going to echo is the fact that if everyone looks, lives, or loves in the way that you do, then essentially you are not creating a breeding ground for understanding, for variety, for diversity. No one's learning anything. No one's able to evolve. And so you want to be able to figure out why is it that you have created an echo chamber for yourself of people that are just, we're in a vacuum. We're all saying the same stuff. We're all doing the same stuff. But that likely means you're not valuing anything outside of that. And so being able to question for yourself, why is it that everyone here is just a copy of the same? Is it that somewhere I'm afraid of something being different? Is there something that I was programmed to believe that now has to get questioned? And what does that say about me? I think it really is about starting with yourself and acknowledging if there is a lack of diversity and there's a lack of inclusion in any way, shape, or form. What is it that you maybe are nervous or afraid about to step out of that box?
So what if somebody might have listened to that and it hits them. So I had a conversation with a friend earlier today, and they were calling the gut your second brain. So when people say, oh, it's a gut reaction, it's actually science is getting closer and closer to us knowing that our gut is also a strong place of intuition. So what you just said, somebody might hear that and be like, maybe I am subconsciously nervous or afraid or worried of something. And then they can go down that place of exploration. But there could be somebody who's like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. What if for people who have small businesses and the slowly expanding teams, and you're just like, well, what if everybody looks like me happens to apply? Like, what is it about my business that's not attracting different colors, ethnicities, races, creeds, makeups? Like, what then does the business owner who says, I'm not afraid, but where do I begin? Because I'm taking what is coming to me. What do you say in that situation?
You have to start with your values, because your values are where everything stems from. Because if your values are not set up in a way that they are going to attract different types of people to feel as though they resonate with it, I'm going to be relatively safe because nobody else can decide if they're safe there but that individual. But you've created an environment that's relatively safe. If your values do not create an environment where someone can show up as the totality of who they are at every intersection, they're not going to come there. Because the first thing that I find happen is when people are like, well, I don't have that diversity. I'm not afraid and I don't have it. Well, is it about you not having it, or is it that people don't want to come to you because somehow you have not addressed them? You have not spoken to them. You have not addressed their needs. You're not in conversation with them. You decided what they needed and your answer fell short. And so you are deciding what that is, or are you open to receiving what the actual answer to that is and finding out what's happening with your values as to whether or not you're the one that maybe needs to address some things and to realign to be able to be the person that is going to call that in, because it's not about you.
So if there is a business owner who does want to expand and wants to really do a diagnostic of, are my values in alignment to attracting the key players that I want for diversity, where does that person begin? Like, what's one place that they can be like, this is a concrete place to start?
My podcast, to be totally honest.
Okay, that was the cleanest right hook on the show that has ever existed. I mean, okay, well, Queen, that deserves a rollout red carpet. Where can people find your podcast to go deeper with this type of content?
pauseontheplay.com is the page on the website. It is /podcast. That will give you the actual show notes, which we've actually put effort into making sure that our show notes are more accessible for people that maybe cannot listen to it in its traditional way, but it's going to allow you to be able to get to Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever else, or you can go directly into those podcast listeners. But the thing is if you go and decide, great, I want to change things, and I don't know where to start, I can very easily say, oh, you can pay me. Oh, you can go do this. Oh, you can go do that. No, I'm going to actually challenge you to do something that is easily accessible. It's a top rated podcast that is free 99, that does not cost you money to go listen to. So you can actually begin to figure out, okay, what needs to happen? Because I can give you an example. If somebody wants to come and work with me, but you don't know how you work, do you work better in a group? Do you work better one-on-one? Do you work better by listening to the questions of others? And that's where I've found that being able to create those episodes that really challenge people, wait, you want to go throw money at the problem, but are you sure of what the problem is? We need to actually dig a little deeper first and make sure that we're being intentional with our efforts.
And you're doing that in a place of value to business owners. You're saying that we can preliminarily go deep on my free 99 podcast that's top rated. Okay. And this is like the first step to you committed to doing the work. So I want to take a step back. Now, there's going to be people who may not know more about your story. So you started off as a stylist and you opened your own beauty salon. And in your salon and then in your online coaching business, you wanted to make sure that all of your customers and clients felt safe and welcome. So how do we as business owners do the same? Like, what's a little bit of the origin story? And then how do we make it tactical for us listeners?
One of the things that I found was true for me when I worked in the beauty space, as well as now being in the coaching and consulting space, was that it was important for people to feel as though they could be safe, they could be transparent, and they could actually receive what they were there for. When I was in the beauty space and it was around weddings, they knew that if they were a same-sex couple, they didn't want to be judged. They didn't want to feel as though they might be physically unsafe. And they wanted to know that their love was going to be respected and they weren't treated like a dollar sign. And if somebody then wants to come in and work with me now, what I've brought with me as I've evolved is that I want you to know that I see you as a human. I don't think that you are less than because you don't know. I'm not going to put you in a position where I'm going to beat you over the head because you're a terrible human because you weren't doing these things before. You didn't know what you didn't know, and now you do. And so that sense of I am honoring who you are and where you are and what can I do to support you has really come through not only me being a salon owner and a beauty owner, in a few different ways. Because again, it was hair, it was makeup. I partnered with Dior. Like I've done a lot of things in that space. But when I realized that that was a huge chunk of how I operated in life, then when I moved into coaching and consulting, it made perfect sense of like, I've always supported people in this way. I've always wanted you to know that you could be who and how you are. And I've always respected and revered people to be human and to know that it is safe to be transparent. And that is what I really try to bring through in what I do, because very often before I started the work that I do, I heard people that would take in DEI or anti-racism work and they were like, I love this content, but I could never say anything in these spaces because I'm afraid. And I knew that for me, it was important to let people know that you don't have to do this perfectly. And that if we're not in conversation, what's the point? You need to be able to be in conversation with other people, again, that don't look, live, or love like you. And it just has to start somewhere. But being able to have a place to do that and to know that it's possible is a huge piece of ever being able to have that facilitated.
So when you talk about fear, about people showing up or afraid that they're going to say the wrong thing, and it's coming from a good place. They don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to offend anybody. But it's often that the silence ricochets off walls that have been put up to keep us away from each other. And I remember having a conversation inside of the social curator group. This was in the summer of 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. And there was so much pressure on business owners who wanted to show up, who wanted to help, and they didn't know what to say for fear of saying something wrong. Now, you talk about the importance of being an imperfect ally. What does it mean? And what are some examples of people who were imperfect and then people rallied around them to teach them, coach them? Like, I think that a lot of people are afraid to step out and make a statement and to be like, hey, and then everybody who they're trying to be an ally for are like, you did it wrong. That's not cool. How do you be an imperfect ally? And then how do we get the support afterwards to continue to iterate and grow?
Being an imperfect ally does not have a true script, but it does require you to be in action. That's the biggest piece of it. And you have to be willing to get it wrong. You have to be willing to say, I screwed up. As I call it, I ate some Nike, put my foot in my mouth, and I acknowledge that I messed up. I apologized. I'm going to do my own emotional labor to figure out where I need to be better. And I'm not going to utilize this as an excuse to stop. I'm not going to let this be the reason why I don't keep going. And so the biggest thing with that is just understanding that the imperfection is what I want people to understand. You don't have to do this perfectly. Some of the ways that I saw people shifting the narrative out of this is about me and putting it into perspective of this is who I am here to support. This is who I want to amplify. This is who I want to remove the ownership of having to do it all from, is saying, hey, if you're looking for some people to educate you on what's happening, here's some places you can go. Go pay these brown people. Or when it was the tragic murders in Atlanta and the AAPI community, it's like, hey, support someone that belongs in this community. Here's some people that you can learn from. Here are some people that you can take in content from. Here are some people doing amazing things. So sometimes it's about the incident and sometimes it's about amplifying the community that was affected by the incident. We have a client that we work with, MBI, and we supported them in being able to set up we shifted their scholarship program into an awards program. So they are supporting people that belong to the LGBTQIA plus and BIPOC communities. They prioritize getting awards to them. And it shifts scholarships to awards because it goes from, hey, you don't have money to, I want to award you with this so that you can take it back to communities that don't have easy access to this. So we want to prioritize giving a method of healing to a community that can benefit from that healing. And so being able to shift that, my business partner and I, India Jackson, is just through Pause on the Play. When we were able to support them in that, that was an act of imperfect allyship, because they could have very easily had people say, you can't do this. Why are you doing it this way? And they simply were clear on what their values were, who they wanted to support, what they wanted that outcome to be. And it has exploded. And the impact that it has made is so humbling to really see it play out.
So one of the things that I want to go back and tap on that hit at a really good place was the permission to make an apology. And I think that there is this beautiful iteration that we must take as humans, but then specifically as we drill it down to business owners, that it's okay. I don't know if very many people are demanding perfection from leaders. I don't know if people are demanding perfection from each other. So the thing that you had said again and again is like an imperfect ally is action driven, and then has the humility to apologize and then do the work to learn how to try again in a different way. So
correct.
I'm definitely interested in asking you about something that you had written on your website. So this is referring to being better allies, but we're going to tie it into what we just spoke about with being imperfect. And this is what it says on your website. We have the power as business owners to lead a revolution in a way that larger, top-heavy corporations don't. And I was like, heck yes. And I was like, but wait, how? Why? Like, why do small business owners have the power to lead the way? Let's drill down here.
Okay. There is less red tape and bureaucracy that you have to fight through to get approval on things. There's a lot less of a path that things have to go through and get the checks and balances. Like, this person has to sign off. That person has to sign off. Oh, wait, the shareholders have to be okay with this. You don't have all of these extra people in the way to tell you no. Mm-hmm. You don't have all of these extra opinions in the way. How is that going to affect the bottom line if we do that? Mm-hmm. And I think knowing that a smaller and more streamlined company that doesn't have the same type of bloat, you have an opportunity to cut straight to the point. This is what matters. This is what I want to do. This is how we're going to put it into action. This is the support that I need. Go. You don't have the same types of barriers in the way. However, you have to remember to not create your own barriers.
How does one create his or her own barriers?
Mindset is one of them. I can't do this. Who am I to do this? I could never do this. What's going to happen if I do it wrong? People are going to be upset with me. People are going to think that I'm just seeking attention, that it's all about me. What's going to happen if I do this? Am I going to lose the clients that I have? Are they going to be upset that I'm making this shift in these pivots? And I have had multiple clients have all of those, let alone just one or two of them. And 90% of those people that were fully aware that all of those were simply procrastination trying to stop them. They were simply stories. It was imposter syndrome trying to get in the way. When they realized that those were all false, they were able to prove that they were false. They were able to prove it by having more clients and having more diverse clients. They were able to prove it by having their best years ever or their best launches ever. And they were able to prove that not only did this matter to them, but that people were going to look at them as an example of what this could look like.
So let's say somebody listening right now is somebody who has a pretty significant part-time job, working for the man. And then they have a very passionate side hustle that they're really trying to get off the ground, and every customer matters. Right. And so then this person who's listening and says, if I take a stand, if I do something, how is it going to impact? And then what if I don't get customers? I already have very few customers. I just want to play that vanilla line. I just don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to be much. And what you're saying is by taking a stand, you actually have the opportunity to increase the amount of customers.
When you are clear with what your goals are, what the outcomes are that you support, and who it is that you want to work with from an inclusionary standpoint, you will call in the right people and you will repel the ones that are not aligned. Being vanilla and trying to toe the line will get you some clients, but you will not have actually fulfilled your purpose, because you're simply getting the fence sitters that don't really support or are not really against anything strongly. And if you have very definitive opinions and viewpoints on things, and you know how you want to impact things, then you have to be willing to take that risk, because the reality is you will likely end up on the right side of it if your intentionality and your actions are aligned.
I feel like I can speak to that personally, because it's not as if a social curator doesn't bring in its own fair share of people on the fence. Like, I kind of sort of am interested. I'm not quite sure. And then we have the people who listen, they know, they feel it, they're behind it. And the people who come in when their values are aligned to the values of our organization, which are a byproduct of values of me, those are the people who become the biggest advocates. They're the people who are rallying other people. So I just kind of want to co-sign on what you're saying is, like, if you try to be everything to everyone, you're going to be nothing to no one. And when you are aligning the thing that you want in your business, come hell or high water, and you're saying, I'd rather work with a smaller group of people who will become hardcore evangelists for what it is that I do and my values, that will grow. And it's just like a longer play. Ooh, girl. See, this is just how you break it down.
But what you said was important, though. You said something really big there. Your business has values that are a byproduct of you as a human. Thank you for addressing the fact that who we are personally and who we are professionally are not mutually exclusive.
Oh, yep. And so I think it kind of leads in. This is a very selfish question, and I acknowledge that it's selfish. And on that note, you'll probably hear my daughter in the background. It is lunchtime, so she's going to be driving it in, but I want her to hear me ask this question so that I know I am being very selfish. So you also say that leaders need to operationalize their values in order for them to come to life within the business. What do you mean by that? And that is a hardcore me asking this question. I just want you to deal it to me straight.
The operationalizing comes in when you take a value from simply being a static word or statement and you move it into an actual action that can be taken, that can then be put into an SOP or a standard way that you operate within your business, with your clients, with your staff, with support team. I mean, honestly, like, I have a company that I work with, and they work with a lot of nonprofits in the Baltimore area. And for them, showing up as you are is really important. And so if they have team members that do have children, they're not going to tell you, oh, well, don't show up to the meeting because you have kids. We don't do that. They operationalize that by letting people know, when you apply to this job, hey, we have people that have kids. We have people that take care of family members. We have people that have entire lives that exist outside of who they are within this organization. And we don't separate those two. So at the end of the day, they're a valuable part of this team. They do amazing work, and they're a human that has a life, and they are allowed to do that at the same time, because everything is not clearly in a box. Like you just mentioned, like, the only reason you don't hear my kids is because school finally started yesterday. Like, being
yes, and amen.
right. I was like, finally. And so knowing that for them, it's a value for people to be accepted as they are. And then for that to be a part of acknowledging in their company handbook that these things are fine. These things are accepted. These things are welcome. They have let you know what their take on this is and what you don't have to be concerned about there being an issue with if you come in and this happens to be your reality, or letting you know, hey, this isn't the place for you if you don't feel good about this. So it's also letting people know, hey, this might not be the environment for you if you don't like this. But if this is the type of environment that you want, you'd be right at home here.
Okay, so I'm a parable learner. I am example learner. And this, to me, this example, come as you are and then make it part of a standard operating procedure, was so helpful for me. Do you have another one off the top of your mind?
A company that values mental health.
Oh, talk to me. This is my love language right here. Okay.
So I have an organization that I work with, and the beauty of it is that the work that I do with them, I'm able to see what happens in their Slack, and I see how they do work as a team. And I know that they are given one mental health day a month to take.
So do we, girl.
And,
so do we. I'm loving this. Okay, but tell me how to make it better. Okay.
And so it is not only that, oh, you have access to this. They are actually highly go take your day. And so they are not only reminded to take access to that day whenever they want, because it's there, but there's also the place for them to say, hey, I'm having a really tough day. I'm not going to be in the meetings for the rest of the day. Okay, cool. And that happens because, number one, there's trust. This is not something that's being abused. And these people that are saying this, them being okay is prioritized over their output. And so when somebody says that you and your well-being is a priority here, they give you a way to facilitate that. And if for any reason the needs exceed that, because let's be honest, mental health exceeds anything that we can put aside and plan for it. Amen. In the life that we're living right now.
Amen.
And so to be able to allow them to do what they need to be as whole as they can in that moment, and then know that they can come back when they're ready, jump back in, and that person is not going to miss anything. They're still going to meet deadlines. They're still going to do what they are paid to do and more, and that they are respected as a part of a team. There is nothing that takes away from them. They are not lesser than because of that. I have never seen anyone on that team ever feel like, I can't be honest about this. I can't talk transparently on a call about this. I can't share this. And that is something that is baked into everything that they do. And so when they work with clients, they remind them to embed those same types of values into what they do.
That is so, so, so good. Between both of those things, come as you are. And if you are not okay with your team members showing up as they are, children, right, caretakers, partners, then this is not the place for you.
Right.
Prioritize mental health. If you need to work with a particular team member on any given day, on any given time of the month, then this is probably not the day this is probably not the company for you. So by putting in these really beautiful processes that see people as humans and as team members, that's how you're operationalized. Man, I'm not exactly there, but I'm so much farther than I have been in the past. And just you adding that light, adding being a beacon. Speaking of being a beacon, give a shout out to your podcast once again, because this conversation is we're just scratching the surface and there's so much more that people want to go deeper with. So your podcast, how people can follow up with you, how to follow you on social, give us the goods.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Erica Courdae. I am the host of Pause on the Play. Pause on the Play is in all the places that you would take in your podcast goodness. So Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all those things. And if you come over to the website, pauseontheplay.com/podcast, you'll be able to check out the show notes. If you are a visual learner, I often give journaling prompts, so you'll be able to actually get those right there. If for any reason you are hearing impaired, or you simply from a neurological standpoint do better reading, those show notes were created with that in mind. And we're always open to constantly adjusting that to make sure that they support the people that is there for it. It's not just us. You can also learn more about me at ericacourdae.com. So you can hear some of the things that Jasmine has read to you today. You can actually see my values on there, and mine are phrased in what you would expect from me and what you'd expect in us working together. So there's information there as well. And I am Erica Courdae on Instagram, and it is Pause on the Play on Instagram if you want to learn more about the podcast and our community that is a Mighty Networks community.
I appreciate you sharing your goodness, your brilliance, your insights so generously. I told you not to share the goods in our last call, but I didn't actually realize that you were saving the best of the best for this conversation. I hope that this is the start of many. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for including us in this conversation. I appreciate you, Erica. You're a light and a beacon in this world. I appreciate you, friend.
Thank you for taking me in. Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for everyone listening.
There you have it. Wasn't Erica wonderful at leading conversations with empathy, understanding, and grace? We are so honored to have had her on the Jasmine Star Show today. If you enjoyed this episode, take a picture of where you are listening to the episode and tag Jasmine and Erica in your Instagram story at Jasmine Star and at Erica Courdae. They would love to personally thank you for tuning in. Well, friends, we've done it again. Another amazing episode in the books. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.